have you join us today. I want to begin by acknowledging that I'm here today here in Kelowna on the traditional unceded territory of the Silk Okanagan Nation and their people. And I know that many of you might be joining us from here in Kelowna, but also from other locations. And I want to also acknowledge the traditional owners of those lands as well, both past and present. So my name is Joan Batorf. I'm a professor in the School of Nursing here at University of British Columbia, Okanagan campus, and director of the Institute for Healthy Living and Chronic Disease Prevention. I'm delighted to welcome you to our 8th annual Embrace Aging month. And thank you for joining us today. I know we have some participants joining us who joined us in previous years. And so it's great to welcome you back again. 8 years ago, we had the very first Embrace Aging with 4 events. And this year we have over 30. And so we're really keen to continue this celebration to raise awareness about positive aging. And so once again, we've organized a wide variety of events for the month of March. And these events are really designed for young and old alike. And as you could see, if you've looked at our calendar, focus on a variety of topics for both seniors and family members. Our goal is really to inspire everyone to embrace healthy aging. So you'll notice this year we have a closed captioning box, and it's typing out everything I say. And you can turn that off if you find it a bit distracting, and you can turn it off on your menu bar. And you can also move it around if you find it a better place to watch. So we also invite you to type in your comments or questions into the chat box anytime during the session, and we will read them out to our speakers towards the end. So today's event is actually brought to you by UBC's Okanagan Institute for Healthy Living and Chronic Disease Prevention. And it's really a great presentation for the beginning of March, as we're just saying we all want to be outdoors. And so the title of today's session is Walking Your Way to Good Health. And I want to introduce our leaders for this session. I want to introduce Rebecca Frechette, who's a clinical exercise physiologist with our School of Health and Exercise Science here at UBC Okanagan. And I also wanted to introduce Gurvinder Liddar, who is a 4th-year student, almost finished, in the Human Kinetics program in the School of Health and Exercise Sciences, again here at UBC Okanagan. So thank you very much for leading this session for us today. Rebecca and Gurvinder, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Joan, for that introduction, and welcome everyone to the session. We look forward to starting off with an educational component to this session and moving into an active component if you wish to participate today. So I will share my screen with our slides for today, and I will turn it over to Gurvinder to start us off.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Gurvinder, and today we'll be discussing some of the health benefits behind walking. And walking has shown benefits and improvements in balance, reduces falls and injuries, help one stay independent longer and be able to perform daily living activities easier, and as well as prevent any heart disease, stroke, osteoporosis, type 2 diabetes, and as well as some cancers. And so as far as it goes, is recommended weekly exercise. It's for 65 and older is 150 minutes, which is roughly 2 hours and 20 minutes, assuming that there is no underlying medical conditions and there is doctor approval. Again, the 150 minutes is something to work towards and as much as the body can handle. All right. And so we just have a little slide here showing the correct technique of walking. So just the gait of walking. and it's rather a full body motion than small motions. And proper walking technique involves heel striking the ground before the toes as a contact phase, and then a mid stance, and then a pushing off the toes as a swing phase. And this should involve no shuffling rather than bigger movements and heel to toe stepping. And the height of the foot, speed, upright position, and position of both arms and legs moving opposite should be taken into consideration for normal walking gait. And so just a little bit behind proper footwear and the important factors behind it is something that is fit, which is height and width of the sole. And ideally, you should have a shoe with less height vertically and a wider sole for optimal fit. A shoe that has too high of a heel or a flat sole is a major cause for falls amongst all ages, especially older adults. And then the fit of the shoe should include a wider sole, allowing for room for the toes and toenails and optimal comfort, as well as so there's no reduction of circulation and there's room for swelling. A shoe that is too big could also cause a tripping hazard and balance issues, and it will be very uncomfortable and not as appropriate for walking. And so a shoe with a arch support, a heel cup, and memory foam padding also helps for just overall fit of the shoe. For comfort level, we mainly talk about cushioning, and it's important to have appropriate weight and impact on the bones when walking and running. So you don't want to have something that will cause a greater impact between the bones and cause any deterioration. So any type of cushioning, especially memory foam that molds around the foot, will help reduce pain within the knees, feet, and the hip joints. And that's a major reason why older adults shy away from walking, is that the pain it endures on the knees, which is why it's crucial to have footwear with proper padding. A shoe with rough edges can cause irritation and will reduce comfort and the length that someone will want to walk. So it's really important to have something that's comfortable. And so for slip-on shoes with laces or boots or Velcro, slip-ons can be very comfortable and less hazardous because they don't have laces to trip over. But there is an issue that with slip-ons are not as tight as you may want them to be. So something with a lace or a Velcro might be better if they seem too loose. Laces are a common cause of tripping though amongst older adults and even younger adults. When shoelaces untie, it can be a major hazard, especially on a slippery area, which is why many do gravitate towards a slip-on shoe with a stretchy material or a Velcro for tightening. But it should always be taken in consideration, the comfort, the fit, and cushioning that comes with the shoe. And so for slip-resistant sole, oh, sorry, got one left on there, Rebecca. And so for slip-resistant shoes with it's good to have a good tread on them. So a rubber sole can provide stability, but a good tread is also really important to reduce the risk of falling, as it provides more friction between your foot and the ground and allows for better walking outdoors especially. There we go. Some of the walking aids that can help with walking overall, there's walking poles that are mainly for balance and upper body workout. So walking poles are mainly used for their functions of reducing load-bearing weight, balance, spine alignment, and core strengthening. But there are also secondary prevention treatments such as for arthritis, osteoporosis, and reduce of bone mineral density. Walking poles also apply a support for balance control that can help prevent falls, as it's external object to hold on to. The core, abdomen, and chest muscles are utilized with walking poles, and that's why they have shown overall strength training, and in the legs, waist, and arms, as well as they use, when walking with poles, it uses more than 50% of the muscles involved in the body. It also helps with the upright position involved in spine alignment, as well as pulling the body up in frame, which is really important for the curvature of the spine and any later diseases that could cause, such as osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, or nerve damage. Walking poles have also shown a great effect for those with breast cancer, as the utilization of the arms and the chest help treat lymphedema and strengthening bone and muscle. And so for walking sticks, walking sticks don't have a handle, but they're more for the utilization of balance and support to help accommodate for the issue of a limb or a joint that may be having a problem. With the walking stick, can be beneficial to put some weight onto the stick and instead of your joint that's having a problem on that same side of the body. A walking cane is very similar. It will have a handle to grip onto for a bit more support. It is well for balance and support and taking some weight off of a limb or a joint. And then for a walker is very beneficial for those with chronic fatigue or overall bone and muscle weakness, as it can be used to sit and take some breaks if it has a little seat on it. And it's ideal for someone who likes to do walking in bouts of a couple minutes. And so for the walking surfaces, it's important to always watch your step and understand what type of surface you're walking on and what shoe you would need to wear for it. So for indoor, there's lots of places to walk. There's apartments, retirement residencies, indoor tracks, and malls. But indoor does often come with its own dangers, such as a crinkled carpet or loose exposed wires, loose flooring or mats, uneven floor stepping into and out of rooms, any spilt water, or unknown objects in the path. So it's important to keep in mind when doing exercises inside, especially walking. Outdoor comes with its own hazards as well. So there's main walking surfaces are pavements or trails with dirt and gravel. And so there can be loose rocks. And that's why it's good to have good tread on the bottom of your shoe. And so when walking outside, it's important to understand that there can be cracked pavement, icy roads or sidewalks and puddles. And icy roads are hard to see sometimes by the human eye, as they just look like a little shiny plate over top of the road. And so it's good to always check the weather and understand what shoes to wear. And sometimes when the weather is not appropriate, maybe it is better to do some exercises inside. Puddles are also a hazard as they have cracked pavement, and sometimes you don't realize how deep the puddle may be and you may step into it and trip over it. So it's good to just avoid puddles overall. As well as hills. So any inclined surfaces can be hazardous, but they're really great for having overall gaining muscle strength. With the right footwear, like a wide sole, minimal height, and good tread, it can be really good. And I also wanted to note when walking downhill from the uphill, should be taking smaller steps with the knees kind of bent to prevent any injuries or falls. And so the next part of the presentation is going to switch into exercise. And before we turn the screen off, Rebecca and I would discuss the 7 exercises. So there's 3 categories. There's strength, which is mainly utilizing getting muscles stronger as well as the bones. There's balance, which helps with balance to prevent falls, and flexibility, which is to optimize range of motion for walking gait and full body swing. And then we will take you through these exercises quickly. So for the strength exercises, we have seated knee extension, which we would hold for about 5 seconds and repeat 5 times. There's the standing heel raises, which is we can hold the back of a chair for some support, hold that for 5 seconds and repeat 3 times if possible. And then the balance exercise, we've got marching on the spot. So opposite arm with opposite leg, just on the spot. There's also a modification that you can use is just lifting your heels and keeping on your toes, moving your arms as well. And approximately for 1 minute or a count of 30 marches. And then there's single leg knee flexion, which is holding onto the back of a chair again and bending your knee backwards. And for the flexibility, we've got 3 exercises here, which is trunk rotation. So 5 times each to the left side and the right side with your arms crossed or just your arms up. We've got shoulder shrugs, which is just up and down 5 times, and shoulder circles, which is doing circles forward 5 times and doing some circles backwards 5 times. And so I will hand it over to Rebecca to get started on the exercises.
Hey, thank you so much, Gurvinder, for enlightening everyone with a lot of, there's a lot more to walking sometimes than people realize. And there are many benefits to it as long as everyone feels safe to practice walking. If you feel you are happy to sit back with a cup of tea or some water and enjoy just watching these exercises for now. But for those who are willing and able to participate, we would love for you to join along in the same exercises that Gurvinder just outlined, actually, is what we're going to go through. In terms of what you might need for the exercises, I strongly encourage you to have some water with you. And that's the same for walking, if possible. And footwear, if you do have shoes on that are stable, that is helpful for today's session as well. It's an extra safety feature. If not, just make sure that you have a good solid surface for some of the exercises. They will be standing and seated, and we can modify accordingly for a few of them if you're not able to stand for too long. You can also certainly use an aid if you have a walker or anything with you as well. So I'm going to keep moving my chair around in my home office here to try and capture these exercises, and I'd love for you to join along. So the first exercise we are going to do is a seated knee extension. And for this one, we are going to repeat 5 times on each leg. So back I go. Good thing I have some space in here. And in your chair, seated down, we are going to extend. Let's start with the right leg. We're going to extend the right leg. Try to go as high as you can. We're going to hold it for 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. Relax. Okay, left leg, same thing. Make sure your hands are just comfortable on your sides. Left leg out. Hold for 5 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5, and down to relax. Okay, and we're going to repeat that another 4 times on each leg. So I'll let you do that on your own right now, and you can follow along with me or do it at your own pace. If you feel tired and the fronts of your legs are getting sore, you can either reduce how high you lift your leg, right, instead of the full extension, or you can stop. Okay, so back to right leg for 5. And relax. Left leg for 5. And relax. I think we're up to our 3rd set. Right leg. And relax. Left leg. Relax. If there's any questions, please feel free to put in the chat. I can't see the chat from where I am right now, but hopefully the questions can get addressed. And down. Left leg. And down. And I think we're on number 5. Right leg. And down. Make sure to breathe in and out as relaxed as possible while doing these exercises. Okay, legs feel okay. That was a strengthening exercise for the quadriceps muscle group, which will help to strengthen around your knee as well. Okay, the next exercise, standing heel raises. We've got 3 sets only for this one. So find yourself a chair, use the chair that you were just sitting on if possible. If not, find one that you can put your hands on the back of for support. Okay, and for this exercise here, we are going to hold for 5 seconds on each leg, but only repeat 3 times. Okay, so for a heel raise, we are bending behind us, bringing our heel up and counting for 5 seconds. and back down. Okay, left leg, bend heel up, and back down. This is working the hamstrings muscle group at the back of our leg. Again, if you feel any soreness, feel free to stop. You can also modify by going a little bit lower. This is quite good for balance as well as strengthening. And down, left leg, 3, 4, 5, and down. You can wiggle your legs if you're feeling those muscles. And one more time, right leg up. And down, left leg up. And try not to lean side to side. You want to try and keep your posture upright. And you should feel it a little bit in your hip with stabilizing. And down. Okay, so those were our 2 samples for strengthening exercises. We could add in a lot more, but just to get you started, we wanted to provide at least a few for each category. Any questions of note before we move on? No? Jakarta, maybe I can leave it to you if you do see anything that I need to address here.
No questions so
Absolutely.
far.
Okay, wonderful. For this next exercise, marching on the spot, this is a balance exercise, is our primary focus. And for this exercise, the focus is on opposite arm with opposite leg, okay, as you move through the march. We are going to try to count out 30 marches. And we could time it for about a minute, but it's easier to just, I think, try to count through our 30. So with this exercise, if you need assistance, you certainly could just do a marching exercise with the chair. If you're able to do a full march independently, then it will look like this. I'm not quite starting yet, but this is your motion, okay? Bring your knees up as high as you can and swing your arms with slightly bent elbow, but make sure your shoulders are swinging, okay? The modification, if you find that that is too unstable or too hard for you, is to keep your toes on the ground. You can't really see my feet. We'll bring it down. Right, so you're not actually lifting your leg. You are just modifying, going through the same motion, opposite arm, opposite leg, with toes on the ground. Okay, so we're going to start our 30. Good chance for deep breathing while you're going through the 30 marches. Okay, we'll start with right knee in the air. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, halfway there, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Lower your knees if you're getting a little tired. 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Well done if you made it to the end of that. That was a good little workout to start the day. Okay. Oh, I've just reversed 2 of our exercises that we were doing. Okay, we're going to come back to standing behind your chair. Okay, and this exercise is going to work on lower leg, your calf muscles. Okay, and for this exercise, we are going to go up on 2 feet and hold for 5 seconds each time. Okay, and back down. So it's tippy toes. Okay, make sure you've got your stability in front of you, countertop or chair. Okay, and up. And down. And again, up. And down. And one more time. And down. You could take a progression to this where your hands are on your waist and you're doing it a little bit more independently on your tippy toes. But if balance is a concern, right, make sure that you hold on. Okay, you can also try single foot on this one, but again, make sure you're holding on for this one because balance changes. Okay, so great exercise for strengthening lower legs. Now for the next one, we have ripped a trunk rotation, Gurvinder, I think.
Yes, I think that's next.
I'm all over. I've got a few notes and I'm not sure if I'm following the same order we had. With trunk rotation, you could do this standing or seated. So I'll show you both. If you're standing, you can put your hands across your chest or you can have your arms out to the side, okay? When your arms are out, it actually allows for a little bit more range of motion for rotating about the trunk. Okay, you can try it for comparison to see the difference. Okay. If you want to do the same exercise in a chair, same setup. Okay, seated, cross your arms, or open up and rotate. And I think for this exercise, I've just recommended to have 5 times per each side as your control. Okay, so let's call it, we'll go to the left for 1, to the right, back to the left for 2, and to the right, 3, 4, if your arms get tired, you can cross over. And 5. The main thing for this one is to try and keep the rest of your posture quite straight and get maximum rotation through your trunk area. Okay, we've got 2 shoulder exercises to finish with. And because when we're walking, we want to make sure that we're quite loose through the shoulders and that we have some good flexibility as well. So the first one is shoulder shrugs. And we're going to go up and down and repeat 5 times. So this is, I call this one the I don't know exercise. So I don't know. 1 and down. Up and down. Hold it for a few seconds when you're at the top. Up and down. And I think we're at 4. And down. 1 more. 5. And down. Okay, you can kind of wiggle your shoulders a little bit. Shake it out, relax. And we're going to finish with shoulder circles, which, if I turn sideways, you will likely see better. We are going to try and rotate our shoulders, so not at my elbows, right? Just at the shoulders. We're going to go forwards. And we're going to try and do 5 circles. So roll your shoulders back like you're squeezing your shoulder blades together and rotate through. Okay, until you hit 5. Okay, give it a little shake, and we are going to reverse. So backwards, shoulder rotation. Okay, keep your breathing nice and relaxed. Deep breaths. Okay, and just give your body an overall little shake. That was a quick run through of a handful of exercises that hopefully all of you, if not most of you, can engage in right within your house. These exercises from the 3 categories, strengthening, balance, and flexibility, will all help to contribute to better walking, better gait, and safer walking as well. So this concludes the part of our presentation for the education and the active session, and we will open it up for questions from anyone.
Great, thank you very much. So I encourage people to put their questions or comments in the chat box. I might start us out in that I'm sure others have also heard a lot about 10,000 steps and people are counting their steps. So I guess I'm wondering, you didn't talk about steps with walking, so I'm wondering what you can tell us about how many steps and should we worry about that? And it's a constant conversation with my partner. I check on him to see how many steps he's done in a day. So I need some more information to relay.
Gurvinder, do you want to make a comment on that?
I would correlate the steps, I guess so, with the amount of time that you exercise, if you can, with walking, how it is recommended 150 minutes. Mm-hmm. You can kind of correlate those steps with that.
Right. And I think when it comes to steps, each of us monitors our activity and fitness in different ways. Some of us are very structured in how we like to track our exercise and our steps. Others just want to have it more qualitative, right? I went for a walk, I felt good. So Joan, it's a great question because it is up to individuals to really determine how much is enough, right? Yeah. We call, in our field, we talk a lot about just active living in general, right? Daily active living. What are things that you can do outside of prescribed exercise, like walking, if we're going to call that a form of prescription, where you can just walk a little bit more. If you're driving, it's parking that car a little further away from, where you're going to shop or the building you're going into to get some extra steps. It's taking the stairs instead of an elevator, if possible, right? It's moving more throughout the day. A lot of us are sitting more as we are at home a lot more. So it's more critical now just to get up and move more often. And those steps do become critical, I think, at this stage in the pandemic as well, where if we can get an extra 50 steps from walking from one room to another and back a few times a day, it makes a difference. It adds up.
Great. Yeah, good. That's exactly what I thought too. It doesn't have to be in one fall swoop.
No, it doesn't.
You can try and do a little bit of walking throughout the day. Yeah.
Which is ideal, really, right? Our bodies are designed to move, and the less we do that, the more rigid we become.
Yeah. So there are a few questions here. One from Lori is, what's the proper way to use walking poles? And that's a really good question. You have some hints there for those of us who use walking poles.
Right. There are definitely places to go, and Gurvinder and I will be following up. I think I saw a question earlier, will the slides be shared? Not only will the slides be shared, but also some links to resources for where you can actually purchase some extra equipment if you're looking for aids. And certainly some places that you will go to will actually be able to help you with the proper fit, because that is quite important. If the walking poles are too tall for you, it impacts your gait in a negative way. I don't have anything in my office to even demonstrate, but imagine if the top of the pole was here for me, what that's doing to my shoulder. It's not really helping my stability, right? So if the poles are too long, it's going to cause a very unnatural gait for me to go through that range of motion. So poles can be a negative intervention if they are not properly fit. Some people have created their home version of walking poles where they've taken their skiers and they take maybe a cross-country ski pole and take the basket off the bottom, which can work just fine. So there's cheaper ways of adding poles to your walking, and certainly you can get a nice set of walking poles through some companies that are amazing, but they do come at a higher cost as well. Walking groups now, you will find in some cities, there are walking groups that actually incorporate poles into the regular walking part of the program. The added benefit, and I think Gurvinder mentioned it in her talk as well, is the strengthening of the upper body as well. It's really enforcing that you're using your arms, and it can take away some of that load from your lower body as you walk.
So do you think there's an incorrect way of using, if the poles are the right height, let's assume that you've got the right poles, they're at the right height. Is there an incorrect way of using them?
There can be. So again, depending on where you plant your pole. So if you, just like with skiing, it can actually be a limitation in your ski slide if you're a cross-country skier, for example. So if you plant your pole too close to your body, right, too close, or in terms of width of your body, but also too close in front, then it limits the length of your gait, the step that you take. So it really does become something that you do have to practice in order to get the maximum benefit from it. But just by feel, if you have the poles and you try them out, you will quickly learn what feels comfortable and natural versus what isn't. So
great,
that helps.
Great. I hope that answered your question, Lori. If not, put another question in the chat box for us. The next question is, how long do you hold the shrug up? So I think that's referring to the shoulder exercise.
It is, and it's for even a few seconds, I think most of us can feel that, right? And back down. It depends on what your muscles are like through your neck, right? And what your flexibility is like. Some people have a lot of neck and shoulder pain, tightness, posture might not be wonderful through. Some people have, you know, a forward lean to their head or rounded shoulders. So the main thing is good posture to start with. And then as you get stronger, you'll be able to hold that shrug a little bit longer. Okay, but the relaxation part is just as much of it to drop your shoulders, and you should feel some relaxation through that area. So I would say you could hold it as long as 5 seconds and then drop down. And as you keep repeating that exercise, it starts to feel that 5 seconds feels longer as you do more sets. So with all of these exercises, the general rule of thumb is keep proper technique. And again, we'll send out the images of the exercises as well. Keep proper technique and hold that technique and repeat the exercise as long as you can until you feel sore, stiff, or you can't complete the exercise in the proper range of motion.
Okay, great. Good advice. So Bonnie has a question, and I sometimes have been challenged with this as well. You go into a shoe store and like there's a lot of different brands of walking shoes. Well, there's shoes to this and shoes to that and whatever. So it can be a bit challenging to figure out, okay, so what is the best brand of shoe for walking? And does it matter if it's a different kind of shoe? Like there's all kinds of shoes out there for various things these days.
Gurvinder, do you have anything you want to start with on that one?
Yeah, first of all, I think it really depends on like where you're going to be walking, if it's inside or outside, if it's a trail or if it's inside like a mall or a gym. I know that Skechers has really good memory foam, and it's more of a stretchy material that you can kind of like a slip-on almost.
Yeah.
But again, for walking outside, if you're walking in a trail or on pavement, you want to have good tread on the bottom of the shoe. So I know that something like New Balance or trail walking shoes that are specifically made for those that have good grit and ridges on the bottom is really good. So it really does depend on where you're going to be walking and doing some exercises.
Yeah, I think the you've mentioned a few, you know, Skechers, New Balance, there's Reebok, Asics, Adidas. There's a lot of great brands. I don't think I agree with Gurvinder. It's not as brand specific as it is shoe specific. So if you have a wide foot, if your feet pronate or supinate, you need shoes that correct for your feet, right? And if you have bunions, if you have an extra narrow foot, each of us has our own issues with our feet, right? And we need to have shoes that correct or accommodate as best we can for how our feet are positioned and how they're aligned. So I would suggest you can go into almost any shoe store, but go into a store where the salesperson is going to be knowledgeable about gait. You can also go to a physiotherapist prior to getting shoes. There are foot specialists in most communities that can actually help with that as well. Some of them will take a foot imprint to see what your standing position is actually like. So in terms of a brand, I would move away from a brand and make sure you talk to the right health professional and make sure you know what kind of shoe is best for you in terms of fit.
Yeah, that's good advice. And I find that you're right. There are some very knowledgeable people in the shoe stores sometimes. And even if you bring in one of your older shoes, they can tell which side you've worn on your shoe. And that can help them point to you in the right direction for trying on shoes. But I found that you have to try them on too, because even the same size can feel quite different with different brands.
It really can. And, you know, most stores allow you to come home with your shoe. And as long as you stay indoors, you can try them out, right? And take advantage of that. Take a couple of days even wearing them around your house. And if you feel any impingement, if you feel any aches that weren't there prior to you having the shoes, then take them back and try again, try a different brand, or go back and talk to a physiotherapist or a kinesiologist as well.
Yeah, good advice. Thank you. So Sandy has a question. Can you talk about osteoporosis and walking? Is it better to use walking poles? Does walking help with osteoporosis?
I think walking in general has a lot of health benefits. It does help reduce osteoporosis if you're doing at the right load bearing. So you don't want to be putting any extra weight onto your joints or your bones. And I think walking poles do help with that because it does take some weight off of the lower body and helps because you're putting more weight onto your upper body as well and using your arms. So I think it depends on where you're affected, but for walking, I think it would help using walking poles, just even for balance and support as well, to cause any other further falls or tripping.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it depends. I agree with not only location of where you might have some weakness in your bone, right, which is essentially what we're talking about, porosity of the bone holes, if you will, less density in your bone, and how far advanced you might be as well. So if you're in an early stage of detection, then strengthening is really important in terms of maintaining your bone health. If you're at a more advanced stage of osteoporosis, then certainly falls prevention becomes your focal point as well. And walking is excellent, but the risk of falling certainly becomes a concern, especially in inclement weather. So the walking poles can be a great aid to add stability to your surfaces if you're walking outside.
Great, thank you. I don't see any other questions, but I have a question for you. So I hear a lot these days, and maybe some of our participants have too, about HIIT, high intensity interval training. And some of that can be just, as I understand it, walking up a hill for, I'll call it 10 seconds, coming down, walking back up the hill for 10 seconds. So it can involve walking, as I understand it. So is this going to be helpful for us? Should we be thinking about high intensity walking?
You could, it could almost become jogging then when we are increasing intensity. But certainly you're right. The intensity means your heart rate, your breathing is increasing. So anytime you can put yourself through that, which through walking would be hitting a hill, that's pretty much the only way to increase your intensity there. But absolutely, you will feel that if you try to pick up your pace a little bit and meet an incline, right? You're going to be feeling that increase in heart rate and increase in breathing. Often what that will mean is that you can go for a lesser amount of time, right, for your entire walk and achieve equal health benefits from doing so. If you're doing a lot of hills, you will notice the feeling, not only in your quadriceps in the front of your leg muscles, but when you come downhill, you're using a lot of what's called eccentric muscle contraction, which means your muscles are lengthening because they're resisting gravity as you're going downhill. So it's a wonderful health benefit, but just the caution of having sore muscles could be there from doing extensive amounts of hill walking, especially if you're not used to it. People in some cities know no other way because there aren't many flat places to walk, but in the Okanagan can be can be susceptible to that for sure. Yeah. But yes, it can be a great benefit and reduce the amount of time that you have to be out for if you're time sensitive.
Great, thank you. There is another question here. Heel lift by bending your knee caused a huge leg cramp. What can be done? Oh yeah, so what can be done with leg cramps?
Okay, this might be a similar question to what we were discussing prior to the session starting. Judy, if you can just let me know, are you referring to this exercise?
Heel lift by bending knee. Oh, I'm not sure, but quite likely is my guess.
We're going to assume that, let me just lower my camera if I can. Okay, so if this is in fact what we're talking about and you're feeling a cramp in through the hamstrings muscle area, often that means that our hamstrings are doing more of the work in our legs than other muscles, and we need to strengthen some other areas as well. We need to strengthen our gluteal muscles through the back, calf muscles as well. So if the hamstrings at the back of our legs are knotting, if you're feeling a little bit of that cramping, then we need to strengthen in other areas. You can also do some hamstring stretches for that. That will help to really work on lengthening the hamstring muscles. The hamstring muscle group behind our leg crosses two joints too. So it crosses the hip joint as well as the knee joint, right? So with such a long muscle group, we really need to work on keeping those muscles lengthened because they attach it above our hip and below our knee. So it is a common thing that we can see happen, but it can
be. What would be a good way to stretch that muscle?
Ideally, a seated hamstring stretch would be quite good. I'm going to get down onto my floor here, space, where you can see me.
Yeah.
You have 1 foot brought in, and you bring your chest down towards your leg. Right? It's not about your forehead, it's just about your chest lowering, and you hold that position. Okay? And an added stretch would be to bend your foot forward, because now I'm tightening the hamstring behind my knee, which is where it's actually connecting that muscle group.
Great.
Okay, so that's one example.
And you would do that on both sides then?
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. You've got it. Judy said thank you. So we're so thank you. And so the exercises you showed us today, are those something that you would encourage people to do a few times a week, every day, before they go walking, after they go walking? What would you recommend?
I think we certainly put them in as sort of a way to get fit to walk. So as we head into our best walking season, which is right around the corner, if not here, absolutely, it's great to do it. And daily is just fine. The exercises that we've prescribed are very low dose in terms of they can be done every day and they don't take up much time. What did we spend? Maybe 15 minutes today going through. Right?
Yeah, with that, yeah.
And those are just samples. There's so many more that can be added into that. Maybe we can provide a few more in the handouts that we are going to share as well, just to give you some variety, because sometimes it's nice to change up a little bit some of the exercises for each of those categories. But every day, absolutely, they could be done.
Great, great. Well, I think we've come to, yeah, so Rita says, thank you for an excellent presentation and great information. Ready, set, walk. And I think this is good. I see the sun is shining now, so it's a great time to get out and walk, and it's a beautiful day. So I hope that everyone who joined us today will be able to get a few steps outside today and enjoy this beautiful sunshine and spring weather. So with that, I do want to thank Gurvinder and Rebecca for joining us today. This has been really fabulous to get us all motivated and prepared to enjoy the spring and the summer, and do something that we can do in a safe way as well. I mean, it's very safe to get out there and walk. So thank you once again, and for providing this session for us for Embrace Aging. So thanks again, and thanks to everybody for joining us today. And I hope you'll be able to join us for some of our other sessions this month for Embrace Aging. Check out our website for some of the other events, and you can register there. So thank you, everybody. Look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks so much, Joan. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.